Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now the middle of November of 2022, and we have only one episode remaining for Star Wars Andor before we get on to other shows out there like Bad Batch 2 in January, Mando 3 in February, and of course Ahsoka by the spring and/or summer of next year, and a whole lot more on the horizon as well. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that a lot of fans out there have been very critical over has a lot to do with the fact of what Kathleen Kennedy has been doing behind the scenes, what she has been applying to the Star Wars universe that has created so many problems over the past couple of years, right? We saw what she did to the sequels, we saw what she did to the KENOBI TV show and Boba Fett, and thankfully she's now no longer actually included on a creative scale for anything moving forward with shows, except for the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, as you all know already. Now, where we are today is a very important time, because starting with the Bad Batch 2 is where this new universe really begins. And when I say new universe, I'm talking about how Disney is going to respect the franchise in a different manner, right? They're basically going to treat it with great value and hold it true to the overall Star Wars fans that supported it for decades upon decades. And that brings us to the next thing that really is very important here, and that has a lot to do with the next Lucasfilm president and what's going on with that. Now, we do have a very big update about what's going on behind the scenes with Disney executives and picking and choosing different candidates, and what the latest scenario is right now that's getting very close to actually happening. They're trying to get this rolling as fast as possible, but it is moving forward. Now, with George Lucas currently helping both Favreau and Filoni turn Star Wars around for the better, they are also focused on introducing some big surprises to the fandom around the world. Now, it's noted that as of right now, however, Disney has a full, detailed plan on how to replace Kathleen Kennedy as the president of Lucasfilm that is currently unfolding as we speak. Both, of course, Bob Chapek and the Disney executives have all eyes on replacing Kennedy by the third quarter of 2023 to the fourth quarter of that year, well before Kennedy's contract ends at the very end of 2024, giving her, of course, a full year earlier of leaving Lucasfilm. Now, Disney now has two big candidates to take over as Lucasfilm president, as we discussed earlier, one of which is big-time Hollywood producer Jerry Bruckheimer. However, on the other end, and of course another one in the roster, is of course applied in case Jerry's scheduling conflicts persist. The other candidate is Hollywood producer David Heyman, who produced the Harry Potter films and even Fantastic Beasts, is now in full conversations with Disney executives on taking over Kathleen Kennedy's role over at Lucasfilm. Now let me pause here for a second. I don't know about you guys, but looking at both Bruckheimer and Heyman, I can understand that Bruckheimer is the more classic producer. I mean, he worked on the Pirates movies, he worked on a lot of other big-time franchises, I get that. But what I like about Heyman is that he is actually, believe it or not, a big Star Wars fan. He knows the franchise, and he actually likes George Lucas's work. So it would be more of an honor for him to join as the president of Lucasfilm over Bruckheimer, just in my personal opinion. I get it that Bruckheimer has a lot of history with Disney with the Pirates movies, I get that, and that makes a lot of sense too. I'm just saying on a creative standpoint, I think that Heyman has a greater aim because he's an actual Star Wars fan, alright? Now, when you look at things like this too, there's a lot of things that are forming around Lucasfilm right now. Basically, there are different teams being applied to different Star Wars shows. So Favreau and Filoni are picking and choosing different crew teams to take advantage of some of the upcoming Star Wars TV shows. So they already are replacing some Lucasfilm employees for the Mando 4 team and putting those to other Star Wars projects as well. So on top of this too, what's really exciting about this that I think a lot of fans need to know is what exactly is happening between both Disney and Lucasfilm. So one thing that we do know is that Disney is currently trying their absolute best to really give the fans a fresh new take on the franchise, and the first major step to doing so is by getting a new Lucasfilm president that's going to allow things to happen thoroughly. Now, given that we already have John and Dave making pretty much all the calls now, calling all the shots, making all the decisions, that's great and all. They don't have 100% control over on the financial end. They do have a lot of control over some projects, but to get somebody on board as an actual Lucasfilm president that is a Star Wars fan would be the best scenario, and that's exactly what they're aiming for, moving on. Now, Heyman is also a very big Star Wars fan and loves the franchise, which is a type of producer that Disney is aiming for, as they want somebody who holds passion for the franchise. Both Heyman and Bruckheimer are now the top 2 picks to replace Kennedy as Lucasfilm president by the 3rd or 4th quarter of next year. Kennedy is said to be very unhappy about this recent development still, and is trying to leave the company before they fire her, as Kennedy is already making her own production studio that will feature sci-fi projects for general audience members. Now again, as we talked about this earlier too, Kathleen Kennedy is trying to leave Lucasfilm and hiring ex-employees or even current employees that were loyal to her for her new production company that's currently dubbed as Starlight Productions. Now, this is going to be a studio that's going to basically be a competitor against all things Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, all those different things, right? I don't really see it succeeding. I mean, who am I to judge, though? That's just my first, thought in my head. That's just my first judgment. Is that it's not really going to succeed or go anywhere. It is Kathleen Kennedy all the while, and I don't really see where it's going to go. Star Wars is Star Wars, Star Trek is Star Trek, and of course you got other franchises out there. It's going to be very, very hard to compete against something like those. And I'm actually quite surprised that Disney even puts up with that, knowing that she's about to leave and make her own company that's going to be a competitor against themselves. So anyways, I think that Heyman is a better candidate than Bruckheimer. Call me crazy, but I just think the fact that he's a bigger Star Wars fan than Bruckheimer is, and how he also is a very big fan of George Lucas, it just makes a lot of sense. It kind of puts things into perspective a little bit, right? Now, that's not to say that Bruckheimer hates Star Wars. We talked about this too. He actually watches the Star Wars films. He's somewhat of a fan, quote unquote. But he's not like a mega fan that's like Jon Favreau level, But that's what they're trying to do with Heyman. Heyman is basically their backup plan right now, in case Bruckheimer's scheduling conflicts really still, keep on happening with Pirate 6 and other Star Wars, and other movies out there, of course, that'll interrupt with the overall Star Wars movie plan and TV show plan. So overall, I think that Kathleen Kennedy's days are looking more and more grim, and things are really beginning to show a light at the end of the tunnel here. So, anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.